How can AI be used to create a personalized learning path for students? Welcome to Speaking of Higher Ed. I'm Andrew Everett, and this is episode 40. In today's episode, Arthur Takahashi talks with Dr. Rafael Pacheco about how he is using AI to personalize feedback for students. This episode also includes a free reflection activity you can request on our show page at augusta.edu/innovation/SOHE. Here's their conversation.
Today's guest is Dr. Rafael Pacheco, Associate Professor and Associate Dean for Digital Technologies at the Dental College of Georgia, here at Augusta University. His work brings together teaching, innovation, and digital technology, and his research includes dental materials, bioactive materials, and restorative dentistry. Dr. Pacheco holds both a master's degree and a PhD in dental materials from the University of Campinas in Brazil. He also completed technical diplomas in data processing and machining technology in Brazil, and previously worked at IBM as a systems operator. Today, we're going to be talking about his role in developing an AI-powered adaptive learning tool that he's using in his own courses. This tool has exciting possibilities, not just in his field of dentistry, but also in other disciplines. Rafael, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely.
I hope that this is productive for everyone.
Yeah. So the first question that I have for you is about your journey to get here to Augusta University. So can you talk a little bit about this journey that brought you here to Augusta University and to your specific roles here at the Dental College of Georgia?
Yep, absolutely. It's interesting because I didn't plan for anything. I never thought that I would be teaching in the United States. It's just like how life came together. I actually always wanted to be a dentist, but I wanted to have a profession. That's why I had all these technical diplomas. So when I was about 14, I started that technical degree. And then I became a machinist, like a milling, soldering, working in a paper factory and so on. But I always wanted to be a dentist, but I didn't know if I was capable to be accepted into. I didn't know if I would have the financial capabilities to go through the program as well. But then I got that technical degree, started working with that, and my hands were always cut. They were always dirty. I was always hurt. I wanted to do something that was a little lighter on me. So I started a technical training in computer science. I used to work as a graphic designer as well. I opened a little company with a colleague. And I always wanted to work for IBM because I always saw the name IBM and I thought it was really cool. The company that invented the modern computers. So we have a IBM in Brazil, near my area in Brazil, in Hortolândia. And I applied there. I was not accepted at first, but then after some time I got accepted, started working there. But I still always wanted to be a dentist, I applied for dental school, got accepted. Then I did a DDS for years in Brazil at the State University of Campinas. Then I got into my master's program. At the same time, I opened my private practice. And during my master's was the first time that I had the opportunity to come to the United States. I've never been in an airplane in my entire life. Then I came to present at the International Association of Dental Research meeting. It was in Tampa, Florida. And my mentor, he said, hey, I know this guy at Augusta and he's a great researcher. And I knew him. I knew all the researchers that were really famous from Augusta University. At the time was Medical College of Georgia. So we came here to Augusta. I saw his lab and the experience was just phenomenal. And I went back to Brazil and he wanted to work with me for my PhD, Dr. Rugberg. So we applied for the PhD for a grant in Brazil, got that grant, which allowed me to spend a few months here. I spent 5 months at Augusta University. At the time was the Georgia Regents University. And I came here, spent 5 months, went back to Brazil to my practice to complete my studies and all of that. And Dr. Rugberg, he called me, he said, you want to teach in the US? And I said, well, sure, I never planned for this, but maybe. And he said, well, Detroit, they're looking for a position. They're looking for someone with a PhD in material science, which is very rare in dentistry. Why don't you apply?
And it's what you did.
That's what I did. I did my PhD in dental materials. I applied, I sent my CV, got interviewed. I was hired as assistant professor, started there as assistant professor, got tenured. And then Dr. Rugberg said he was retiring here. So the chair of the department at the time contacted me saying if I was interested in the position that was open. I applied and I came here in 2022. Started as associate professor, section director of dental materials, still do the same thing, same type of research. And then starting January last year, I started as associate dean for digital technology. So when I look back, I say that to people. My work now, I do machining. So I mill ceramics. I mill metals because that's what dentistry is now. It's all about milling, 3D printing, manufacturing. My computer degree, that's what dentistry is now, is digital dentistry. So scanning, designing, printing, milling, all using computer-controlled machines. My dentistry degree, my master's in dental materials, all of these, the PhD in dental materials, all connected.
They're all coming together.
And I never planned for any of that. Even English, I never planned to speak English. I learned from Seinfeld. That's why I only speak sarcastic English with a sarcastic accent. But all of that combined, I never planned for any of that. So even on my best plans for my life, I would never think that I would be at the Dental College of Georgia, because it's such a famous university in the world for all the contributions that it has done to dentistry. So the way we practice dentistry now, it owes a lot to the Medical College of Georgia at the time. So being part of that is just like a huge honor. So that's kind of my background that led me into here.
Before we talk about the adaptive learning tool that you created, if you can discuss perhaps the teaching problem that you saw in your practice as a professor in dentistry as well, that you thought, okay, I have to solve this problem. And that problem led to the solution.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's hard to pinpoint, again, just one problem. I feel like dental education overall, but specifically dental in my case, it's very hard to tailor to the learner. I have 100 students in the class. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes in the minds of each one of the students that are in the room.
And that's a problem that many professors in different fields face as well.
All the levels,
right.
K levels, whatever. It's hard to know what the students coming in with prior knowledge. So I go into the room and I have students that had major in biology, students that had major in chemistry, in physics, in business, in engineer. So I go in there and I'm talking about dental materials, which is very dry. Some people call it boring, even though I try to make it not boring. Some people, the parents are dentists, so they have been hearing these terms their entire lives. Others have never heard or seen the material being used. It's very complex to reach everybody's mind. So that was one of the main things that really bothered me. And the way I do, educators, all of us do, we keep looking at the faces and the reactions and looking for confirmation and little tips that they're getting that they're not getting, and try to tailor a little bit. But again, you're going to lose a certain percentage of that audience. There's no way against that. So that was one of the main things that triggered me to do this. The other thing is we assess, and I think I speak for many educators, most of our assessments are summative assessments. It's using multiple choice questions or true, false, things like that.
Especially in a class of 100 students, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's impossible not to do like this in 100 students, 110. We're moving to 110 next year. You can't have essays to be reading from the entire class, or 10 open-ended questions on an exam to see the level of knowledge. So this is another reason why this triggered me for this problem. The other problem is that I can't give personalized feedback for all the students. I have 100 students.
Yeah. Even with teaching assistants, it would be very difficult.
Yeah, even with multiple faculty in the sim lab, I can't sit down and see what's your difficulty and try to tailor a comment or hold your hand, do something that will guide you on another direction. And I think you're familiar, and some people are familiar with the 2 sigma problem. Students that have personalized feedback, they perform 2 standard deviations above than the average of the class, usually. Mm-hmm. So how can we do that with everyone? How can we be honest with all of these students and provide the same opportunity to everyone? So that was another reason that triggered me to do this. I know students like visuals. I know that the generations changed, because nowadays we're giving a lecture and I'm talking about methacrylates, double bonds, and the wavelengths of the light, and they have their cell phone next to them. And it's impossible not to have the cell phone next to them. And then all of a sudden a message comes and they're just checking just for a second. Oh, my mother just sent me a message. That's it.
That's it.
You lost them. And it's not their fault. That's how life is now. So they have their computers, they have their cell phones, all these digital distractions. So I use a digital distraction for that. So I am distracting them with that digital tool. So I ask them to use their headphones. It's a platform on the computer or laptop, whatever, or tablet, whatever they want to use.
It's a more purposeful distraction.
It's a purposeful distraction with, there's a dental materials intention there. And from what I've seen, it really served its purpose in that sense. So I'm really happy with the outcome. I know that there's ways to improve that. I'm sure there's ways to improve that.
So now that we've introduced the problem and the solution, if you can describe this AI adaptive learning tool for our viewers and our listeners, for them to understand, what's happening with this tool here in your classrooms.
No, absolutely. It's something that we've been working for, I would say, 2 years and a half now. It's in collaboration with the University of Florida. I have a counterpart there, dental materials PhD. Friend went to the same program in Brazil, so we know each other very well.
Oh, okay.
And he has training in MIT with AI. So he's very comfortable with programming as well. So I developed the flow chart, the algorithm. I did the pilots and all that. I developed the design. And he worked on the backbone, making that more robust. And the way that I envisioned this at first, it's almost like a decision tree. It really is.
Okay.
So the students, they are presented with a case, like a patient, like a real patient. I have this problem. And then prompted with a question. And that question can be multiple choice, can be multiple answer, can be ranking, can be ordering, and open-ended using AI. The only moment that we use AI is on these open-ended questions, because we can't assess everybody, but AI can kind of filter the answer that's being given by the student and provide feedback immediately. So we solved 2 problems in one there. And the students, the ones that reported back saying that the type of question they liked the most was the open-ended AI question. So they talked
interesting.
To the patient. They talk like they're talking to a patient or to an assistant or to a faculty. So they interact with the tool.
But by talking, you mean they're typing?
They're typing.
They're typing.
As of now, they're typing. I didn't do voice because the classroom would be too crazy at that moment.
Yeah, makes sense.
But they're just type. But it can be voice with voice recognition and transcripts. It will work the same way. So we assess the way that they talk to the patient, even the tone that they use. The patient has a certain expectation that we program. So that's the AI portion. It's only for these open-ended questions that we provide feedback. But the overall structure works in a way that if they know about a certain topic, they move on. So that's what I meant about the beginners and the experts.
So the more advanced students, they will likely move on at the beginning.
Absolutely. The more advanced ones, they will move faster through the tool. Mm-hmm. And the ones that need to spend more time in that topic, they will spend more time in that topic. And there's no stakes. It's completely formative. There's no summative assessment with that. I'm not using for grading exams, nothing like that. And I tell them that this is just for your own learning, not for a grade in the course, nothing like that. And I feel like that when you do that, they face the situation with more interest. Later, I have a summative assessment about these tools, about these sessions. And then they know what's expected of them. And I saw great results with that. So let's say you're presented with a topic, I don't know, the pencil. And you're asked the question about the pencil. And you don't know what the pencil's made of. You're going to be thrown into a different branch that you have a feedback, a reinforcing video, a 30-second feedback that explains what the pencil's made of and so on. And you're reassessed with a similar question on that topic. And if you get it right, you're thrown back to the main timeline. If you answer incorrectly, you're again on a different branch where you have another 30-second video, another feedback, and you're reassessed on that topic. So the ones that got right on the first place, they moved on. The ones that didn't get right, they're kind of locked into this topic.
It's kind of like a feedback loop until they get it right.
Exactly, in a feedback loop until they get it right. So I divided them into 18. Every session has 18 topics. And another thing I didn't mention on the previous question, another problem that I see with education, especially in dental, usually the experts are the ones teaching it. So I'm an expert, even though I don't consider myself, but I'm an expert in my field. So dental materials is really interesting to me. I love dental materials. I love knowing that there's a molecule that causes a little bit more allergy. But if you change one double bond on that molecule, that's really cool for me. But for the general practitioner, that's just noise in the education. That is nice to know. It's really nice to know about that. But there are things that they must know. And we tend to spend a lot of time on the nice to know and not enough time on the must knows.
Because it's our field, right? So we have a passion for it.
We love talking about any field, whatever you want to, engineering, you love talking about the minutiae about stuff, but you need to talk about what they must know, right? But in this too, I try to flip that pyramid. Usually we do nice as the base with a lot of nice stuff, some good, and must is just like the tip. Like this is what you should take from this session. Sometimes we say that in lectures. So I flipped it. It's 10 of the topics are must knows, 5 of the topics are good to knows, and 3 of the topics are nice to knows. So they only move from the must knows to the good to knows if they finish within a certain time threshold. If they don't finish within 45 minutes, the session ends right there, because it's like, yeah, that's enough for you. Yeah, for today, that's what what you must learn. Let's stop here. If they finish before the 45 minutes, okay, you still have some time. Let's move into the good to know. And then some topics that are good to know, important, but still again, not must.
It's that idea of adapting to the level of the student. Because if they finish before 45 minutes, it's the assumption that they're more advanced, so
exactly
they can move on to learn the minutiae.
Exactly. And or if they don't finish before that, they need some time to process that information, and give them the time. They will sit down next week. They can do the session again if they want to. So I keep it open for them. And then if they finish within 1 hour and 10 minutes, they can move to the nice to know. And then each one of these must knows, good to knows, nice to knows, I have videos, educational videos, like 7 3-minute videos spread across that timeline. So they have to watch 4. Everybody watches 4 videos. If they move on to the good to know, they watch 2 videos that are 3 minutes. And if they move to the nice to know, they watch 1 more video. So all of these 3-minute videos are core to the timeline. So I want all of them to watch those first 4 videos. So I created this little decision tree. It's a flow chart, which is an algorithm with the logics behind that. I programmed in HTML, which is what I'm comfortable programming with from my time as a programmer. I used to program HTML, C++, Visual Basic, some Python, but I'm still not 100% comfortable. But my colleague is very comfortable with Python. So we transferred all of that into a more robust type of programming.
And that's the part that he did.
That's the part that he did. And all the logistics, who's going to log in, how are they going to log in, how many people at the same time, how do we get the tokens for the AI to process each one of these? So there's a lot of behind the scenes.
The API.
The APIs.
Yep.
So there's a lot of behind the scenes that he really helped developing. Mine is more the educational aspect, like making the videos, the photographs, the questions, and all of that. From what we did with the students, I implemented twice now. And so far the feedback has been amazing, really. Better than I was expecting.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's great to hear. If we can do a demo, would you mind showing how the tool works, what students see, and maybe the decision tree? So, if you are listening to this podcast instead of watching it, maybe this is a time that you can switch to our YouTube channel and watch this episode, because then we can actually show you how this tool works.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's move on to that.
I made a presentation about this. The first time that we exposed to the community was at a meeting called Northern Lights, and it's in Canada. It's where all the dental materials researchers gather. And mine was the only presentation about education of dental materials. And from that, we're talking with a few companies, few schools to implement this at different institutions. And but yeah, we got the copyright in 2025, July of 2025, so middle of last year. That's why I presented in November last year. And
the copyright is for the code?
For the code, yeah. It's the copyright is for the algorithm behind the code and the code itself.
Gotcha.
Like the use of it. And this is kind of what are the decision factors. And something that we did that is really cool is the confidence level. I didn't mention this as well. We assess how confident the student is with a certain answer they gave, because they can be just guessing. And they have to be kind of honest with themselves So there's a bar that they have to select from 0 to 100, and that's part of the decision that is being made behind the scenes on this algorithm. So if they're getting it right, but they're really not confident, we keep throwing them to some of these remediation videos to watch just to build that confidence a little bit.
Okay.
And we can see the result at the end. We can see all of those values. How much correct answers did they give? How confident were they with them? How long it took? So all these decision factors kind of throw that performance history of the student. So if they're correct and confident, they move. If they're correct or uncertain, they have reinforcing questions. If they're incorrect, they go to the remedial branching. If the time is running low, then we prioritize the must-knows, the good-to-knows, the essential content. That's what are the decisions that we make. So basically, this is what started it all. I made this little flow chart where the students start. They're presented with a certain clinical case. They're asked a question, which again can vary, can be a multiple format type of question. If they get it correct, they move on to a 3-minute video, and then they're reassessed on another topic within that must-know branch. If not, if they get it incorrect here on question 1, they go to a remediation video that takes about 30 seconds. They're reassessed. If they get it correct, they're back on the main timeline. If not, they have another remediation, and they can be locked within this
It's a feedback
branch.
loop, right?
Exactly, that feedback loop for a certain time. And then you keep moving. So it's a very long flow chart that goes through the must-knows, the good-to-knows, the nice-to-knows with some time limitations in there. Yep. So that's what keep them engaged. It's because they're always seeing content that they don't know about. Otherwise, they just keep moving very fast. I didn't have a student to finish all of that in, 30 minutes. Usually they take about an hour because they always miss something. So there is always something that they could have learned a little bit more. So it's really good. I do these sessions on top about the topics that I already presented lectures to them about. So it's giving the clinical application and the clinical implication of all the dental materials knowledge that they got. So there's 54 total assessment points within that workflow that I showed you, the flow chart.
That's why it takes some time for them to go through.
That's why it takes some time. And if the students get it right, they're just going to have basically 18 assessment points, right?
Oh, 54 was counting the feedback loops as well.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we have multiple choice, multiple answer combination where you have multiple choice with multiple answer, with ranking all on the same question that they have to get it right. Open-ended, like I mentioned earlier. There's over 35 remediation videos, and they're 30 seconds each. We also coded a little tool for this that it just uses an image, which can be a GIF, or it can even be a little video, or a JPEG, whatever it is. And then using a transcript, it creates a 30-second video. So I just narrate myself, and that is transformed into a transcript. And that uses AI voiceover, so there's no Portuguese accent there. And then that's what the students see as a remediation video. It's an image or a GIF or a video with 30-second narration, and then they move on to the next.
So in other words, for any faculty member to use this tool, it's creating the video for them.
Yes, it's creating the video for them.
Yeah.
What's the bottleneck for this tool? And we had this conversation before as well, is the 7 3-minute videos. Making those videos takes a little time. But again, it depends on what area you're trying to teach. Some areas will not benefit from videos with hands-on activities. For us, we have to have that. But maybe videos even from YouTube or something like that, maybe something that you can ask the students to watch. For example, this is one of the videos that is a remediation video. I just use that image, I put a text, and I use the AI voiceover. I'm going to play it. I don't know if it's going to record well.
Absolute isolation is the best method when removing amalgam and placing composite restorations because it protects the patient by preventing them from inhaling or swallowing amalgam particles or debris during removal. It also prevents contamination from saliva, blood, or moisture, which can weaken the bond of the composite.
So there you go. The person is reassessed on the question again after this feedback. This is the custom script that kind of writes all of that into the video. And we have the 7 core 3-minute videos, and that's what takes a little longer. I'm going to play just the beginning of this one just for the sake of time, so we're not spending the 3 minutes watching.
All right, let's dive into this quick demonstration. As you can see, I have 4 bovine teeth here with flattened enamel surfaces. The surfaces are smooth and standardized for consistency across all groups.
So here I performed some dental materials experiments in kind of an educational way and fun way. Of course, I would use machines to test all of these things. But here I'm just showing the importance of using proper bonding techniques to hold the restoration in place. And then I make it in a way that they can do this like at home or at a lab at their own time. There.
So those are the videos in the main track that all students will go through.
All students will go through at least the must-know phase on the main timeline. And if they go quickly enough, they're going to see the good ones and the nice ones as well.
Yeah.
So in theory, there are 68 billion learning paths that can be made with that specific flow chart. But because I put all of these time constraints, then realistically it's about 100,000. But that's really cool already. Like in a classroom of 100 students, there's 100,000 possible learning pathways that they're following. And so the ones that are struggling take remediation paths, but they still finish. So that's the goal of doing this. So I created 6 patient-based clinical scenarios. So Phil McCavity, James Carey's, Archie Bridges. So each one is for a specific clinical case. So here's an example of Phil McCavity. That's what the students see. They start. And then when they start that tool, the patient talks to them like this, like, hey, I have a hole in my tooth and I need to replace all these silver fillings. I heard they're dangerous. So what should you say to him? So it's not a multiple choice answer. Now it's kind of a real clinical scenario. Like you have your patient in front of you and they need to hear about this. And if you answer here, let's say, oh yeah, dude, go ahead and take them off. They're dangerous. They're nasty. Something like that. The tool will process, the AI will process behind the scenes. There are some acceptable answers that we pre-programmed.
So that's how you account for AI not hallucinating.
Exactly. We give like the content that we expect from that. Mm-hmm. And then it responds as a patient, like, hey, I'm a patient and I don't know a lot about this. I was expecting a little bit more professionalism from my dentist, stuff like that. It gives you the feedback. Same thing if you do the right thing. It's going to talk to you as a patient, being thankful for you saying the right thing. So then the student selects the confidence level here, and then they move on. If they get it right, they see the videos. If they get it wrong, they're going to see remedial videos. Here's an example of combination question. So there's multiple choice and multiple answer in the same question. So you have to get both right. So this one is you select the correct isolation method and you have to explain why by multiple answers. And that's the main goal of this tool, is to try to implement some critical thinking to our teaching, make them not as passive, being a little bit more active. So we got a lot of good results. This one is a very important one. Is the confidence level. This is a great result that we're expecting. 92% correct answers with 92% confidence level. That's awesome. That's a student that knows what they know and knows what they know and they know what they know. So that's great. Yep. This is a student that's pretty average, and that's what we want. Their average confidence, 73, 74, correct about 74. So they know what they know and they know what they don't know. This is scary. A very confident student with the knowledge not there. That student needs to recognize their gaps in knowledge. Or the opposite is also scary. Someone that knows the content but has no confidence on what they're doing. So that's a whole different problem, but still a big problem. That student needs to build some confidence.
They could be guessing as well.
They could be guessing. They could be just guessing. And then the last one is scary. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't know a lot. So we need to sit down with the student and make a plan like, hey, what's going on? Where's the gap? How can I help you? Is there something going on that I can assist with, tutors, and so on? So when I saw these results at the end, I was really happy because it gave me a whole different view of my class. And at the end of every session, I had a SWOT analysis about the session. So they gave me the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of that session. So I have over 700 forms and feedback of each one of these sessions. So I really like this one because the students said I actually learned a lot, and I like how I can move at my own pace. But I like that sentence. It takes me a bit longer to understand things. I like that I had a chance to process the information before I moved on to the next topic. My classmate beside me was ahead of me, but it didn't bother me. I liked how it explained what I said was wrong and what I needed to add. The final part says, because when the professor moves on and no one else has questions, I don't want to be the only one with a question, so I don't ask. And that's standard. You say, does anybody have a question? Nobody asks. It's not because they don't have a question. It's because they're afraid of asking a question. So this gives them the chance to be sitting down there and taking their own time and getting feedback personalized to them without even being exposed. It's just like that little safe area for them to play, like a sandbox.
You said that you were willing to collaborate with other faculty members from different fields and different institutions. If they would like this tool in their course, whom they should contact?
I think the best way would be contacting me, like send me an email with that interest. We'll sit down, we'll talk about how much time will need to be dedicated for each one. Because to personalize, of course, one tool will take time, and to have multiple tools in a course will take even more time. But if we plan properly, if we sit down and we have a certain support system, we can make it work. Absolutely.
And what is your email address so people could
it's
contact you?
my last name, it's Pacheco, so it's R-A for Rafael, Pacheco, Pacheco at Augusta.edu.
Shifting topics here a little bit, I've seen some of other tools that you've created for your course, and you're using Gen AI to create those tools through a process that it's being called vibe coding, right? So using natural language like English, giving instructions to the AI tool for the AI tool to build through coding that tool for us. So what are some other tools that you have vibe coded?
I've been doing quite a few things with that, but a few examples, I put grade simulators in my D12. The good thing about D12 is you can upload an HTML and it runs within D12.
And D12, for those who don't know, it's our learning management system.
Exactly.
That we use here at Augusta University.
Yeah, just like Canvas, Blackboard.
Yep.
So I put that in and the student can interact with that. So some questions that students come to us all the time. Oh, I need a B in your course. Can I still get a B in your course? So just go in there, put your assessments and how much you need to get on each one. It's going to simulate that grade for you. So I did that with vibe coding, like I said.
Oh, interesting.
But it's just an HTML. I use that for curriculum reviews. So I input syllabi and try to find trends, unintended repetition, trying to calculate credit hours properly. So I create some tools for my department. So that way we can work together and speak the same language. For the students, like last week I implemented one that was really cool. It's really hard to teach color overall. It's very hard because it's a sensation that is induced. It's not necessarily a property. So it depends a lot on the observer, on the person that is interpreting that color. So in dentistry, that's particularly true. So matching the shade of a tooth, it's an art. So teaching art overall for a scientist is complicated. So I created a little tool that teaches all the nuances of shade, like hue, chroma, value. As soon as I made 4 different games in there that they play with these tools that they're using all these technical terms, but they don't realize that they're using all these technical terms. And even more complex digital tools that we use to shade select, like clinical spectrophotometers and so on. The way that they operate, I programmed that on that little game. So they work like the spectrophotometer, which is great. And at the end, it was lots of fun. I did 2 classes and they all enjoyed that. So I use the technology that we have available now to try to fix these problems that we've been seeing with our teaching.
So it seems like you've been using technology a lot and AI in these cases to really help your students learn better, right? So that's a good lesson for all of us in instruction. But just because AI makes it easier to build learning experiences, as you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that the learning experience that we build may be a good one for our students, right? So we may have good intentions, but not necessarily lead to better learning. So how do you assess the tools that you have created?
Yeah, that's a great point. The way I assess to see if that has good impact, I compare summative assessments using that tool or not from previous years. So I can see a trend of, okay, they're doing better in these assessments after I implemented this tool. At the end of every session, I have a SWOT analysis, like I mentioned, like what did you think of this? What were the strengths? What were the weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats? And they're honest. They tell me the truth. The hard truth sometimes is really hard. Sometimes is great because then I can change things. And even the feedback, the personal feedback they give. Usually when I finish a lecture, I said, if anyone has questions, I'm going to be up front here, packing up, come here and ask me questions. There's one person that goes, 2. At the end of the adaptive learning, for example, I have 20, 30, 40 people coming to me with questions and deep questions. So I'm really happy that I'm making them think. It's like, okay, probably I made them think and they're curious now and that's why they're asking the question. So I take that as a positive feedback.
Now, so for the faculty members and perhaps instructional designers kind of hearing our conversation here, if they're curious about using AI, but they don't have the technical knowledge that you have, what would be perhaps a starting point that you would recommend for them or suggest?
That's a good question as well. My suggestion would be, I personally like Claude, the AI, so CLAUD.ai. But you can do the same thing in ChatGPT as well. Just go in there and say, give me an HTML artifact, use this prompt, then think about anything you want to do. Like, I don't know, I want to teach how why does a pencil write on a piece of paper, right? Because the hardness of the paper is probably higher than that one, and the pressure that you're applying, then it's leaving the graphite behind. Okay, so give me an HTML artifact that is interactive and will explain the physical mechanism of writing on a piece of paper with a pencil, and see what you get out of that. And then talk to that AI, like, again, vibe coding. No, I didn't like the color of the pencil. Make it red, whatever. And then start doing, the more you do it, just like anything else in life, the more you do it, the more comfortable you become and the more powerful the tools will be. And don't be frustrated. At first, like everything else in life, you're not going to get the result that you want, but after trying a few times, you're going to be developing some really cool things. So that would be my first suggestion. Go in there and talk like you're talking to a human. Like, I want to have this, but use this prompt. Give me an HTML artifact.
All right, so let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to ask our continuing the conversation question. And that's the question that we really look towards the future of education.
Got a teaching idea worth sharing? Share it on AU Teaching Commons. We are Augusta University's first peer-reviewed hub of open teaching resources by faculty for faculty. Share your knowledge, help your peers, impact students. Visit us at guides.augusta.edu/AU Teaching Commons.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with the continuing the conversation question. So that's the final question we're going to be asking you. So if we look 5 to 10 years ahead, what do you think great teaching will look like in the age of Gen AI?
That's a continuing the conversation question. If you look back in the last, 5 years, the way that technology has evolved is scary compared to the way technology has evolved in 2,000 years. That amount in 5 years is just insane. So I really don't know what's going to be in 2 years from now, because it's going so fast and things are changing so quickly. Even our professions, the way that we know life as is, I'm sure it's going to change a lot. In terms of education, with that being said, I feel like our role as educators is not much about the technical aspect anymore of things. It's more the critical thinking aspect of things. We can't lose our humanity and the way that we judge things, are almost like our instincts on things. I think that our role, it's almost like a mentor in that sense of using technology and guide learning. That's what a kind of a professor is anyway. But I think we're going to go back to that description of being a professor, guiding your learning, because the tools are out there. If you want to learn anything, it's out there. You go to YouTube, you learn, you get an adaptive learning tool, you learn, whatever it is. You go to AI and ask AI, you're going to learn whatever you need. But it's dangerous having access to that much information as well without guidance. So I feel like our role as an educator will be teaching how to critically think about all of these different topics with so much noise, with so much information available, with so much things that can distract you from your goal.
So it may just change our role a little bit in that sense. Is this how you're preparing your students at the Dental College of Georgia?
I want to think so. I want to believe that that's what I'm doing. Many discussions I have with them, I always mention, don't just believe what you're seeing, teaching just evidence-based practice and so on. But even the evidence, it's going to change. All of that is changing a lot. How can you judge when a study was done completely by AI or not? Everything is so complex now that I feel like this skill of being able to take a step back and observe things and then make a conclusion. I think it's an important skill not to jump into everything that they see. So I want to believe that I'm teaching that to them. I want to believe.
Rafael, thank you so much again for talking to us today.
Thank you.
For
I
agreeing,
appreciate that.
To this great conversation. So I'm sure the listeners and the viewers will learn a lot from, what we discuss here and from your AI tool again. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation. And if anybody has any questions, you have my email address. It will be a pleasure to explain a little bit more.
Thanks for listening to Speaking of Higher Ed. To continue the conversation with us, sign up for our free Continuing the Conversation activity. It is designed to help you reflect on each episode and apply the ideas in your own work. You can find it, along with all episodes and show resources, at augusta.edu/innovation/SOHE. Speaking of Higher Ed is produced by the Center for Instructional Innovation at Augusta University.